We've been on a run of just bad movies. My last 5 movie reviews on this channel have been negative. Finally, something good to talk about. What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to tell you why I'm never going to go to Detroit for a job interview. We're talking Barbarian. Is this movie good? Is it scary? Let's talk about it. So, traveling to Detroit for a job interview, yeah, I'm not doing that. A young woman books a rental home, but when she arrives late at night, she discovers that the house is double booked and a strange man is already staying there. Against her better judgment, she decides to spend the evening, but soon discovers that there's a lot more to fear than just the unexpected house guest. Directed by Zach Kreger, and, of course, this movie is rated R for nudity, language, disturbing material, strong violence, and gore. Every reason not to watch it with the kids. So, again, you don't want to watch this one with the kids unless you want to terrify them, then go ahead. This film stars Georgiana Campbell, Bill Skarsgård, Justin Long, another actor in there that I didn't know about, so I'm not going to spoil who it is. It's a really nice cast. It's the type of cast that you watch and you're just like, everyone knows the type of movie they're in. They're doing a phenomenal job, especially Campbell as the lead role. It always comes back to her. But also, Justin Long playing AJ. AJ's a douche. He's the type of guy that will not take responsibility for anything in his life. And at first, I'm thinking to myself, okay, what way are they going to spin his storyline? Are they going to stay in this lane or go into a slightly different lane? You really don't find out until the end of the movie, but I really appreciated what they did with his character. It's the type of social commentary that is welcomed in a movie like this, but also enhances the plot. Sometimes when a movie tries to inject that type of thing, it does nothing for the story itself. But in this case, it's pushing the plot forward, and it allows us to know all we need to know about his character. Every storyline, every moment in this film pushes the narrative forward, even though my favorite part about this movie, it's not the way it ends, it's the way it opens. This very ominous tone. You don't necessarily know who you can trust. We have an idea that we can trust our main character in Tess, but we're still not even sure at that point because there's this other guy played by Bill Skarsgård in her house, Keith, and you're questioning his motives. It feels like we can trust him, but can we really? And that's how we feel about every character that approaches us in this movie. And even when you have a character that feels extremely obvious that, no, you should not trust this character, they can flip that on its head. But we're talking about the director, Zach Kreger. And I know Kreger from The Whitest Kids You Know. I used to love those skits. I haven't necessarily been as familiar with his filmography or even his TV shows, but if this movie is any indication as to where his career is going, I want more of this. Kreger, if you're listening, probably not, more of this, because this was glorious. You understand that Kreger has a nice sense of balancing humor with cheese and this really dark, distinctly scary tone that takes advantage of its cast, but also takes advantage of the situation being slightly off. And I don't say off meaning, it's overboard cheesy. There are definitely moments in the third act that get that way. It's not the strongest act in the film, absolutely. But even when it leans really heavy into those moments, I'm thinking to myself, I don't like this as much, but I don't mind it. It's not bothering me. Looking at the scary moments, the movie's actually kind of scary. And I'm not the kind of guy that gets scared really all that often. You have to build that tension. You have to allow us to feel the suspense. If you go for the cheap jump scare, it's not really going to work all that well. There may be 1 or 2 moments like that in this film, but even those moments, there's such nice buildup, especially in that ominous first act where you don't know who you can trust. You don't even know where this movie is going. And you talk about twists and turns, and I won't say how many there are or when they happen, but it just kept happening in this film. It's not the type of twist that you're going to relate to like an M. Night Shyamalan type of, okay, well, we knew it had to be something spectacularly crazy. They're not all that crazy. The turns come more from the way that the story goes and the fact that we'll cut from one character to a completely different storyline. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, how's that going to tie? Why are you spending so much time on this? There's like 20 minutes devoted to AJ's story, and I was curious how this was going to tie into everything. But it does, right? The third act gives us some reveals and some moments and very integral plot details that always come back around, and that was really cool. I appreciated the attention to detail with this movie, even though, and I keep mentioning it, let's get into specifics, the third act was the weakest part of the movie. There are those moments, and they happen all throughout, but you're like, why is this character doing that specifically? One moment in particular that felt a little forced to 180 for me because it was all of a sudden, it was out of the blue, and the movie also ends fairly quickly. I wish we could have gotten a bit more resolve. I think people are going to be walking out of the theater wanting more, and sometimes that's a good thing. And I like this style of movie very much because the filmmaking, the cinematography, the way the camera pans from one location to the other, the buildup of that, oh my God, what is our character looking at feeling? It happens multiple times. And I also just have this fear of like underground corridors and long hallways and things that you see a lot of in this film. So that type of suspense coming in those locations, first of all, it was like masterful filmmaking, just those very specific moments. And it allows Barbarian to stand out as a movie that I did not know all that much about, but one that I'm going to be raving about once it's over and trying to encourage friends to watch it. Flaws and all, especially how it wraps up. Don't mind that at the end of the day because Barbarian is so distinctly different. Before I give you my score, did Barbarian work for you? What's the best horror movie of the year? And if you enjoyed this video, if you want to drop a like down below, that would help out this channel. Barbarian combines the right level of cheese with suspenseful situations and terrifying imagery. The way this story weaves together with so much detail is incredible, while the third act is its weakest. The combination of interesting ideas makes for a great time at the theater, and this is one I recommend seeing with a large group of people. I'm going an 83% with my score. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and it's a nice surprise because I had no clue what this movie was going to be. And sometimes those are the best experiences. All right, guys, you're the best. I'm going to change my lighting back because the red is scary.